Which LEGO Star Wars sets are the worst prices of all time? Happy August 1st, everyone, aka Christmas for LEGO Star Wars fans. Why, you may ask? Well, year in and year out, the beginning of August provides the largest release on the calendar year for LEGO Star Wars sets, and 2025 is no exception. However, this year's wave is making headlines for all the wrong reasons. Inconsistent minifigures, downsized builds, and most importantly, utterly ridiculous prices. This got me wondering, are these the worst prices LEGO Star Wars has ever seen? In today's video, I set off on a mission to find out just that. Without further ado, I present to you the top 10 worst priced LEGO Star Wars sets ever made. Now before we get started, I need to specify just how exactly I am determining a bad price for a LEGO Star Wars set. The basic metric I will be using here today is the price per piece, aka the price per part ratio. If you're unfamiliar with price per piece, essentially take the price of the set divided by the piece count of the set, and that number is the price per piece. For example, if a set costs $100 US and contains 1,000 pieces, the price per piece would be 0.1, aka 10 cents per piece, and that is the golden ratio LEGO sets need to strive for. That being said, price per piece is not a perfect ratio. It's very black and white and completely lacks nuance. So to account for that, I have established 5 separate rules to add some nuance to this situation. Number 1, I will not be considering any set under $25. The reason for this is simply because if a set is that cheap, it's hard for me to really say it's one of the worst prices of all time because it's ultimately a negligible amount of money. Number 2, I will not be considering any set that comes with a big fig or some sort of specialized creature mold. A lot of these sets do not have a good price per piece, but a set like the Rancor Pit from 2013 includes a massive Rancor that really helps to make up some of the ground that the price per piece is otherwise lacking. Number 3, I will not be considering any 4+ sets. The first reason why is because these sets are made for toddlers. I don't think they should be judged in the same playing field as normal LEGO Star Wars playscale sets. Additionally, because they have a very young audience in mind, the pieces are bigger, there's lots of printed elements. All of this is to make the builds easier for small children, and because of that, the part count is usually much smaller. Number 4, I'm also not going to be considering any buildable figures. Similar to 4+ sets, the parts here are very specialized, they're very big molds, which results in smaller part count but higher prices. And finally, rule number 5, I will not be adjusting for inflation. I do think inflation does have some merit when talking about prices of LEGO sets, but it's going to overcomplicate things here today, so we're just using the original retail price for my experiment. I know that was a lot of rules to get through. Hopefully all of that makes sense. Now let's dive in and look at the 10 worst prices LEGO Star Wars has ever concocted. Number 10, 75435, Battle of Fallujah Separatist MTT. This set had a price per piece of 16.4 cents per piece, and honestly, I'm kind of surprised this is only number 10. I just reviewed this set last weekend on my channel, and while I actually liked the contents of the plastic included with this set, I was utterly appalled at how bad of a value it was. For $160 with sub 1,000 pieces in a build of this scale, I was just flabbergasted LEGO was charging this much for the set. One of the reasons the price is so high is because of tariffs. Honestly, I think it's kind of a lame excuse for LEGO to jack up the prices even more, but it was originally supposed to be $150. However, it still would have been a bad deal at $150. This set should have been $120 at the most, which is similar to the inflation-adjusted price of the 2014 MTT, which is around the same scale and part count. There was no reason for this set to cost $160, and it's lucky it's only number 10 in today's video. Number 9, 75286, General Grievous's Starfighter. When I started working on the script for this video, I already penciled in this set for the list because I feel like it was iconically overpriced when it came out in late summer 2020. It actually has the exact same price per piece as the Separatist MTT at 16.4, but I'm putting this set slightly higher because it's an older set, and obviously that price would be higher for inflation if we adjusted. And once again, again, this is another set that I actually really like the build of. I think this is by far the best version of General Grievous' Starfighter LEGO has ever made. It's a great looking design, and I believe I used VIP points to knock off like $30 from this price, so I had no issue when I actually bought this set. But at $80 retail for less than 500 pieces, yeah, that was not a very good value, especially with only 3 minifigures. Number 8, 75323, the Justifier. I was honestly kind of shocked this set even came out. I'm not really sure why this was the only other Bad Batch set LEGO decided to make in addition to the shuttle that came out the year before in 2021. But I kind of like this 2022 Justifier set. It's so random, the vehicle is kind of ugly, but it also has a commanding shelf presence. And admittedly, the design is very big. This is something price per piece usually doesn't take into account, is that larger elements usually make a bigger design. So the eye test for this set was definitely more favorable than the price per piece, which is 16.6 cents per piece. But with a relatively small figure count and barely over 1,000 pieces for $170, this was still an egregiously overpriced set. It's also another set that I definitely used some VIP points on to knock down that price a few pegs. That being said, compared to some of the other sets in today's video, I actually think this one did have a large enough size to make the price feel slightly better. Number 7, 75272, Sith TIE Fighter. Like General Grievous' Starfighter, this set also released in 2020 and it had exactly a price per piece of 17. It was also the same price as General Grievous' Starfighter at 80 bucks 5 years ago. And pretty much like every single set so far in today's video, I really liked the build of this one. People refer to this as the Dorito TIE Fighter for good reason. It does kind of look like it has Doritos for wings, but it's a very striking appearance, and I think LEGO did a good job designing this set. And once again, the size wasn't awful, but the part count was really low. And one oddly consistent thing I've seen so far of the set in today's video are small minifigure lineups. If they included like 8 figures with this set, I don't think people will be quite as upset at the price. However, only 3 were here. So not enough minifigures, definitely not enough pieces to justify an $80 price point. It's a cool build, but this one was egregiously expensive when it came out 5 years ago. Number 6, 75431, 327 Star Corps Clone Troopers Battle Pack. Because of my no sets under $25 rule for this video, most battle packs were disqualified from the list. However, for some reason, unbeknownst to literally everybody on planet Earth, LEGO decided to make the most recent battle pack $45, which resulted in a price per piece of 17.4 cents per piece, which is just so bad. Yes, it included technically 7 minifigures, although 3 of them are super battle droids, and the clone troopers here do look pretty cool for the most part. But after I completed building this set, I was just shocked at how small the AT-RT and the Dwarf Spider Droid were combined. The AT-RT is noticeably smaller than previous versions that cost like $15 less than this set. I have no idea how LEGO could justify this price whatsoever. I think in terms of eye test, this is actually one of the worst sets in today's video. This looks like something I would pay $20 for, and it costs $45. I can't recommend buying this set at retail price at all. And if you want to watch my full thoughts on this set, there's actually a review up for it exclusively for my channel members. Shameless plug to become a channel member here at Brickology Productions. Number 5, 75406, Kylo Ren's Command Shuttle. 2025 strikes again with a slightly different set. This is the only 18+ set in today's video. Most of those sets tend to have slightly better price per pieces. But this $70 Kylo Ren's Command Shuttle comes in at 18.1 cents per piece, which is really bad when you consider there are no minifigures and mostly just relatively small parts with this set. And look, not all of the Starship Collection sets have been great deals, but they've been serviceable for the most part. And then there's this shuttle, which is just completely insane. And the fact of the matter is, I haven't bought this set yet, even though I've been a completionist with this sub-theme simply because of how bad a deal it is. Hopefully at some point it goes at least like 30% off for me to justify the cost of actually buying this set, and honestly the build isn't that great either. Up to this point in the video, I've actually liked the builds of most of these sets, but this one's build I think is easily the worst of the Starship collection, and the price is so bad. There was just no reason at all this set needed to cost $70. It should have been like $50 at the most. Number 4, 75199, General Grievous's Combat Speeder. Ironically, like the other General Grievous set in today's video, the Starfighter from 2020, this 2018 Combat Speeder was one I penciled in very early on. I feel like it was iconically overpriced at $30 when it came out 7 years ago. And it's another vehicle that I actually think looks pretty cool in LEGO form, but is way too big when compared to the source material. There are some larger elements here, so I understand why the price per piece wouldn't be great, but 19.1 cents per piece is crazy. And only 2 minifigures were included with this set. Yeah, this was a really bad deal. It should have been like $20 at the most. Number 3, 7959, Geonosian Starfighter. This is the oldest set in today's video. It dates back to 2011, and this set has a price per piece of 19.3. Like a few of the vehicles here today, there are some larger pieces to help justify that to an extent. However, the large elements are just one piece, and they're quite thin, and ultimately you can see that on the vehicle. I have this set. I think it looks pretty good for the time period, but when you pick it up, it does not feel like a $30 build in terms of weight. At least for that price, they gave us some exciting minifigures, including Ki-Adi-Mundi for the first time ever, plus a really coolly newly molded at the time Geonosian, and Commander Cody was in a small set, which was great. So the minifigures definitely added a lot of value to this set, but in terms of price per piece, this is one of the worst deals LEGO Star Wars has ever done. Number 2, 75413, Republic Juggernaut. Here it is, the set that is currently breaking the LEGO Star Wars community. This set has pissed off pretty much every single person online. Whether it be the inaccuracies with the minifigures, the build which frankly just falls apart if you pick it up from awkward angles. I don't currently own this set, and I'm not gonna buy it because the price is the thing really holding me back. For $160, the same price as the MTT, you somehow hardly get over 800 pieces. Yes, that's right, 800 pieces, which if it did have exactly 800 pieces for $160, it would be 20 cents per piece. But because it's a hair over, it's actually a pretty reasonable price per piece of 19.7. Obviously, I'm joking. That is horrible. Like I said earlier in the video, the golden ratio is 10 cents per piece, and this is nearly double that for a set that doesn't really have that many big molds. In fact, when you compare it to older versions of the turbo tank, which used really specialized large wheel elements, this one decided to brick build the wheels, which adds more pieces to the design. Yet it somehow costs way more than those ones, even when you adjust them for inflation. There is just no explanation on planet Earth for this set costing $160. It also doesn't help that the set is just generally pretty bad overall, despite some desirable minifigures being included. This is one of the worst LEGO Star Wars sets of all time. You'll definitely see it in my worst of 2025 video coming later in the year, and it's the second worst value LEGO Star Wars has ever given us. There's actually one set with a worse price per piece, and that set is number 1, 75324 Dark Trooper Attack. The retail price of this set was $35 and it contained 166 pieces, ultimately giving it a price per piece of 21.1 cents per piece. Oddly enough, this set actually had a jump in price because when it was first released in March of 2022, it actually retailed for $30, which is still a pretty bad price. However, later in that year, because of the rampant inflation going on in the United States, LEGO boosted the price all the way to $35. And once this became a $35 set, that way over 20 cents per piece ratio was hit, which is absolutely insane, especially when you consider the fact this set is littered with stickers throughout. Nothing specialized is going on here. Yeah, the Dark Troopers have some cool molds, but they came in a set in 2021. They were not new figures. At least it did come with 4 figures to help justify it, I guess, but ultimately it doesn't really pass the eye test for a $35 set. maybe 20, 23 at the most. And I don't hate this set. I actually bought 2 of them and combined them to make a bigger sequence overall. But ultimately, considering all of my rules, this is the worst price per piece in the history of LEGO Star Wars, making set number 75324 Dark Trooper Attack from 2022 the worst price set in the history of all LEGO Star Wars as a theme. And there you have it, y'all. That's the list. What do you think are some of the worst prices ever? Let's take equations out of it and just give me your subjective opinions in the comments down below. And thank you all so much for watching today's video. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Peace out. God bless. Bye-bye.